I mean, I come here today less than enthusiastic about this, and I said this to you the last day we spoke about it. You've made it very difficult for parties and people like me and mine who really do want to progress the equality agenda in this country. You've made it even more difficult for the Citizens' Assembly, who did a lot of work on the question of equality and how it should apply to the Constitution, and amazing work done by the committee itself, much of which was, based around constitutional legal arguments, but nevertheless the work was very, very impressive. But regardless of what was recommended, when I say you now, don't mean to personalise this, I mean the government, regardless of what was recommended to you, it's been ignored, and you've gone ahead and given us a very weak set of proposals for a constitutional change. Now, obviously this makes it difficult for people to, as I say, be enthusiastic, to fight for it and all the rest of it, but it will provide an opportunity to some mischievous elements of our society that we spoke about earlier on other questions of race, but now they will also use the question of gender to put their spoke in and try and influence and muddy the waters. So I'd like to know, first of all, question to you, how does the government plan to campaign for a yes vote on this? You're obviously going to promote a yes vote because you've put forward these clauses that you're asking us to deal with. So if you could outline for us how the government's plan for a campaign for a yes vote is going to proceed, that would be quite helpful. And I just want to make a couple of points about, there's a motion we put in, two motions we put in that are two amendments, sorry, that have been both ruled out of order. And again, I'd like to ask you questions on that, because both the Citizens' Assembly and the Gender Equality Committee recommended non-discrimination language for Article 41, but you chose to leave it out, and with the old-fashioned discriminatory sounding language in the second clause, all citizens shall, as human persons, be held equal before the law. This shall not mean that the state shall not, in its enactments, shall not be held in its enactment having due regard to the differences of capacity, physical and moral, and of social function. We wanted to delete that, and I'm speaking to it because it's been ruled out of order, so I won't get another chance, and to replace it with, this shall not mean be held to mean that the state shall not in its enactments have due regard to differences of capacity, physical and moral and social function, and replace it with, it shall in its enactments have regard to the principles of equality and non-discrimination. So can you explain why that's been ruled out of order, please, and why that shouldn't be included in with this whole idea that we need to extend the definition of the family, which we totally agree with, that's obvious. One cannot go against that. More than 1 in 5 relationships now are of lone parents with children, and the marriage is basically sort of almost like a last option. As the councillor who's with me this morning doing the press conference of this, she lived as a lone parent, she then lives as a cohabiting couple, now she's married, and that is, it explains the story of lots of people's lives, but yet you still continue to give marriage a stronger status over the other states that people live in. And I'd like you to, come back at us and explain that. And I really regret that that our amendments were ruled out of order. And I'd like you to explain why that happened, why you made that decision.
Anyone else before I